The black SUV rolled down the two-lane stretch of Route 17, tires humming beneath a sky smeared with late afternoon haze. The windows were up. The air inside was cool, calm, controlled. Agent Dorian Vance kept one hand on the wheel, the other resting near the dash-mounted tablet, where the next waypoint flashed green. Classified briefing, 94 minutes to destination. His eyes scanned the road, but his mind remained sharp, layered with the discipline of years spent scanning threats no one else saw coming. He never saw this one either. Red and blue lights bloomed in the rear view. Fast, aggressive. A patrol cruiser barreled up behind him, horn chirping, siren yelping. Vance blinked, checked his speed, under the limit. No vehicle violations. No reason. Still, he signaled, pulled to the shoulder, and rolled down the window. A man approached. Stocky. Sunglasses too dark for the hour. No gritin. License and registration. Vance met his gaze. Calm. I'm with the United States Secret Service. Federal credentials are here. Step out of the vehicle. The tone wasn't a request. Vance blinked once. His badge was out, held clearly in view. You should contact your station. I'm en route to a secure briefing. This stop is a mistake. A second cruiser pulled in fast. Then a third. Doors flung open. Guns weren't drawn, but hands hovered close. The first officer leaned in. Step out now. Vance exhaled through his nose. He opened the door slowly. Got out with deliberate movements. Phone cameras flicked on across the road. A gas station lot nearby. Bystanders. Drivers. You're making an error, Vance repeated. I suggest you verify. His arm was wrenched behind his back. The metal snapped cold around his wrists. The crowd shouted. A teenager's voice rang out. He showed his badge. That's a federal badge. But the officers weren't listening. They shoved him into the cruiser. The door slammed shut. And the sky outside the window felt smaller than it had a moment ago. The sign over the door read, Briars Hollow Police Department. The paint peeled at the edges. Inside, Vance sat cuffed to a bench. 2 hours passed. No one asked questions. No one returned his property. No phone call. No Miranda rights. Just silence. Stale air. Fluorescent buzz. Finally, a man in uniform strolled in. Thinning white hair. Black watch band. Eyes that didn't blink enough. Chief Harlan Grieve. He didn't introduce himself. He didn't shake hands. You claim your Secret Service, Grieve said. Yet your vehicle's unmarked, your presence in this area unreported. And you're traveling alone? I'm under federal assignment, Vance said. My credentials were valid. You had no probable cause for detainment. The chief smirked, almost. You people always have something to say about probable cause. Vance said nothing. Grieve leaned in. You can make this hard, or you can wait while we verify. You already have my credentials, Vance said. You've had hours. Grieve straightened. Systems move slow out here. He left without another word. The video hit social media within 45 minutes. By the second hour, it was clipped, shared, and hashtagged. By the third, it was news. The caption read, Black federal agent cuffed in small town stop, despite showing badge. Inside the station, Vance didn't know yet. But outside, the world was shifting. Calls came in. Reporters called the mayor's office. Civil rights organizations lit up phone lines. Satellite trucks rolled into town like vultures. Federal liaison Layla Banner sat in a sleek DC office when her phone vibrated. The director's voice was clipped. You're heading to Briars Hollow. A situation with one of our own. Local PD made a mistake. Correct it. She had a flight booked within minutes. The mayor's office was panicked. Mayor Rullant looked out his window and saw the growing press presence. This wasn't supposed to happen, he muttered. His chief of staff shifted nervously. We didn't even know he was in town. I don't care. Fix it. Get ahead of this. Before this becomes a national disgrace. Too late. Hours blurred. Vance asked for water. Got a plastic cup with dust in it. He asked for a phone call. Got a door slammed in response. No one said he was under arrest. But no one let him go. He stared at the ceiling, mind working angles. Why here? Why now? He replayed the stop. 3 cruisers. That wasn't chance. Too fast. Too coordinated. They knew he was coming. The next morning, Layla Banner stood outside the department with a federal ID in her hand and irritation in her eyes. The receptionist blinked at her. I need to speak to your chief. Immediately. 10 minutes passed. No one came. Another 10. Banner paced. Finally, she was ushered inside. Chief Grieve met her in a back room. He did not offer coffee or a seat. "You're with the service," he said. She nodded. "And you're holding one of our agents. Unlawfully." "There was cause." "There was no cause," she snapped. "You detained a federal officer who identified himself. That's obstruction. That's federal overreach." Grieve's jaw flexed. He was acting suspicious. Banner narrowed her eyes. "You're making this worse by the minute." He crossed his arms. "You don't understand this town." "No," she said, "but I do understand federal lawsuits." Grieve didn't flinch. "Then maybe you should understand this. Vance isn't your concern anymore." Banner froze. "What does that mean?" He smiled thin. "He's been transferred." "To where?" Grieve turned away. "That's classified." She stepped forward. "Don't play games. This man is under federal jurisdiction. You had no right to move him." He didn't answer. She grabbed her phone. Dialed. Waited. Nothing. No answer from Vance. No ping on his tracker. Nothing. Banner hit the records. No booking form. No bodycam uploads. No signed intake. The surveillance footage? Missing. "Camera must have glitched," said a deputy. "Power surge, maybe." Too many excuses. Too many holes. She stared at the empty footage log and knew. This wasn't incompetence. It was a cover-up. Vance was no longer in the building. But he hadn't been moved to county. No transfers listed. No logs. No van. No officer name. He was gone. Disappeared. The mayor's office knew nothing. Or pretended to. Banner sat in her car outside the station. Phone in hand. Recording on. She played back the call she'd received an hour earlier. "Leave it alone," the voice had said. Masked. Deepened. "You don't know who you're protecting." She played it again. And again. That voice had used one phrase. Not Secret Service. It had said, asset. Not agent. In the darkness of a makeshift holding room, somewhere beneath Briar's Hollow, Dorian Vance sat shackled to a steel pipe bolted into concrete. No light. No sound. Just a camera in the corner. Blinking red. They hadn't asked him anything yet. They didn't have to. He knew now. This wasn't an accident. They knew who he was. And they didn't want him leaving this town. Not alive. If you're enjoying this so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us grow and lets us keep bringing you more content like this. Plus, you won't want to miss what we have coming next. Trust me, it's going to be good. The darkness pressed in, thick and suffocating. Elias Monroe sat shackled to the cold steel pipe, every muscle tense, every sense alert. The blinking red light of the camera was the only sign of life in the room. He had lost track of time. Minutes? Hours? There was no way to tell. His training taught him patience, taught him to endure. But this was different. This was calculated. Deliberate. Suddenly, the door creaked open. A figure stepped in, silhouetted against the dim light from the hallway. No words were exchanged. The figure approached, and without warning, a hood was thrown over Monroe's head. He was lifted, dragged, and transported through a maze of corridors. Nia Caldwell paced outside the Willow Ridge Police Department, frustration mounting. Chief Franklin Dorsey had been evasive, providing no clear answers about Monroe's whereabouts. The lack of cooperation was suspicious. Determined, Caldwell decided to dig deeper. She requested access to surveillance footage from the night of Monroe's arrest. Conveniently, the footage was missing due to a supposed system malfunction. Unconvinced, she began interviewing local residents. One by one, stories emerged of similar incidents. Individuals detained without cause, evidence disappearing, cases dropped without explanation. A pattern was forming, one that pointed to a systemic issue within the department. Back in the confines of his new cell, Monroe was unhooded. The room was stark, illuminated by a single overhead light. Across from him sat a man in a tailored suit, exuding authority. "Elias Monroe," the man began, "you've stumbled into something far beyond your assignment." Monroe remained silent, his eyes fixed on the man. "This town," the man continued, "is a nexus point. Operations have been running here for years, under the radar. Your presence threatens to expose everything." Monroe's mind raced. This wasn't just about a wrongful arrest. It was about something much larger, much more dangerous. Caldwell's investigation led her to a whistleblower within the department, a young officer named Jordan Hayes. Hayes revealed that certain files were kept off the books, that there were special assignments no one talked about. He handed Caldwell a flash drive, urging her to be careful. That night, Caldwell reviewed the contents of the drive. What she found was chilling, records of covert operations, unauthorized detentions, and links to higher government agencies. Monroe's name appeared multiple times, marked as a person of interest. Armed with this new information, Caldwell confronted Mayor Thomas Langford. She demanded answers, but Langford deflected, insisting he had no knowledge of such activities. However, his demeanor betrayed him. "You're in over your head, Miss Caldwell," he warned. "Some things are best left alone." Unfazed, Caldwell pressed on, determined to uncover the truth and locate Monroe. Meanwhile, Monroe managed to overpower his guard during a moment of distraction. Navigating the labyrinthine corridors, he discovered a hidden room filled with surveillance equipment and files. Among the documents, he found a dossier on himself, detailing his movements, contacts, and assignments. But what caught his attention was a section labeled Project Sentinel. It outlined a covert operation involving the manipulation of federal agents for undisclosed purposes. Monroe realized he had been a pawn in a much larger game. Using the information he gathered, Monroe navigated his way out of the facility, evading security and making his way to a safe house he had established years prior. There, he contacted Caldwell, sharing everything he had uncovered. Together, they devised a plan to expose the operation, gathering evidence and preparing to go public. But they knew they were being watched, that their every move was under scrutiny. As they finalized their strategy, Caldwell received an anonymous message. "Stop digging or face the consequences. This is your only warning." The threat was clear, but so was their resolve. They would not be silenced. The night was still when it began. No sirens, no footsteps, just the click of a switchblade against the side of Caldwell's car door. She froze, then slowly, very slowly, turned her head. The parking lot outside her motel was empty. No other cars, no breeze, just silence. The blade had etched a message into the metal. Final warning. She didn't scream, didn't panic, just opened her door, climbed in, and drove. Fast. She knew what it meant. They were watching her every move, and she was running out of time. Monroe stood shirtless in front of a mirror, bandages wrapped tight around his ribs. Blood still crusted along one side. He didn't win that last escape clean, but he got out, and what he took with him, photos, files, maps, was going to rip open the entire scheme. He laid the papers across the kitchen table. Caldwell stood across from him, eyes scanning the evidence. One photo stopped her cold, a blurry image, grainy, but unmistakable. Chief Dorsey, in uniform, smiling, shaking hands with a man in a dark suit. "Who is that?" she asked. Monroe hesitated. "That's Director Fallon. From internal surveillance? Higher." The implications sank like stone. The flash drive Caldwell received was only part of it. Hidden in Monroe's stolen files were hours of recorded meetings, audio logs, transcripts, and voice commands issued under a black-budget program labeled Shadow Ledger. The voice giving orders? Fallon's. But it wasn't just surveillance. It was targeting. Agents identified by race, by affiliations, by patterns. Monroe's name was marked with a red flag. So were others. Dozens of others. Agents who'd been reassigned, or disappeared. Some were listed as expendable. Caldwell scrolled through the list. Her hand trembled. Where are the rest of these people? Monroe's jaw tightened. Gone. They tried to go higher. Emails, calls, encrypted messages. But the channels were locked. Caldwell's clearance had been revoked without explanation. Monroe's access keys returned error codes. Someone had sealed them out. They were alone. Worse, someone inside was blocking them. Someone high. Monroe paced the room, replaying everything. "None of this adds up," he muttered. "I was diverted off-route. Deliberately. They knew where I'd stop, where I'd refuel. The timing was too precise." He paused. "Someone gave that information to Willow Ridge PD. Someone who wanted me taken off the board." Caldwell looked up. "You think this started inside the agency?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Caldwell sent a decoy, a false report, leaked through a controlled back channel, a fabricated drop site with a flash drive full of nothing but noise. Then she and Monroe waited, hidden nearby, watching. Within 30 minutes, 2 unmarked SUVs arrived. Men in black tactical gear stepped out. No insignias, no lights. They moved like military, but not government. They swept the area, scanning for surveillance. One found the drive. They didn't take it. They destroyed it, crushed it underfoot, burned what remained, then vanished. Caldwell whispered, "Not local." Monroe nodded. "Private. Contractors. That changed everything. That night, Caldwell's motel room was trashed. No valuables missing. Just her notes. Her files. Her laptop fried. It wasn't theft. It was control. They were tightening the noose. Across town, Monroe's safe house was hit. He was gone before they arrived, but the damage was clear. Windows smashed. Hard drives taken. Walls scorched with accelerant. They wanted him erased. Not just silenced. Erased. Whoever was running this operation had reach, and no fear of exposure. But they missed one thing. Monroe had stashed a micro SD card inside his belt buckle. A last resort. He and Caldwell uploaded it from a borrowed laptop in a library 20 miles outside Willow Ridge. On it, a recording. It showed Chief Dorsey in a private meeting with Fallon. Location unknown. The audio was muffled, but clear enough. This agent's a liability. He won't walk out of that cell. And the girl? Handle it. Then silence. That was the break. Not just corruption. A hit order. Signed. Delivered. By someone with clearance to erase them both. Caldwell wanted to go public. Leak everything. Go straight to the press. But Monroe stopped her. If you release it now, they'll bury it. Discredit you. Disappear me. She stared at him. So what then? We hit back from inside. Quiet. Strategic. Who do you trust? He was silent for a long time. Finally, he said one name. They drove through the night. Across state lines. Through back roads. Changed cars twice. No phones. No trackers. No signals. They arrived at a small town. Nothing on maps. Just a sign and a gas station. Inside the station, behind the counter, was an old man in a fishing vest. He looked up, then nodded. Been expecting you. The man's name was Alton Red, a former handler. Retired. Off-grid. He led them into a bunker below the store. Inside, monitors, radios, lockers of supplies. A war room beneath the floor. Monroe handed him the files. Red didn't flinch. Same protocol. Just different masks, he said. He tapped one folder. This is a shadow project. Not rogue. Sanctioned. Deep-level black budget. Years in the making. Monroe leaned forward. Why Willow Ridge? Red's face darkened. It's not the town. It's what's under it. That stopped them cold. Beneath Willow Ridge was a decommissioned military relay station. Or so they thought. Red pulled up old blueprints. There's a tunnel system. Cold War era. Reactivated 5 years ago under a different name. He zoomed in. Project Hawthorne. Monroe's breath caught. He knew that name. It was buried in the files he'd been tasked to deliver. Files he never got the chance to open. This is what they wanted hidden, Red said. What you stumbled into. And what they're willing to kill for. They devised a plan. Caldwell would pose as a whistleblower. Offer the footage to an intermediary known for leaks. An ex-reporter turned dark web archivist named Finch. But Finch was a test. If he took the bait, they'd know how far the corruption reached. They met in an abandoned rail yard. Finch never showed. But someone did. Dorsey. In person. With 2 of his men. Guns drawn. No more warnings. Monroe didn't hesitate. He tackled one. Disarmed him. Rolled for cover. Caldwell dug behind a crate, gun in hand. Shots rang out. Metal sparked. Glass shattered. In the chaos, Dorsey shouted. You don't know what you're dealing with. Monroe shouted back. Then tell me. But Dorsey just ran. They lost him in the trees. One of his men was down. Bleeding out. The other was gone. But they had proof now. Gunfire. Assault. Attempted murder. On tape. That night, back at the bunker, Caldwell uploaded everything to 3 secure servers. Redundant. Encrypted. Time released. In case they didn't make it. But when they returned from dinner, they found the bunker door cracked open. Red was gone. No struggle. No note. Just one thing left behind. A single flash drive. Marked only with the words, "You were never supposed to see this." The flash drive sat in the center of the table. Unlabeled. No encryption. Just 5 words etched on its casing. "You were never supposed to see this." Monroe didn't touch it. Caldwell didn't breathe. Something was wrong. The bunker was quiet. Too quiet. No signs of struggle. No overturned chairs. No spilled coffee. Just Red gone. And the drive waiting like a trap. Caldwell opened a burner laptop. No connection. No ports enabled. She inserted the drive. Waited. No viruses. No lockouts. Just a single file. A video. Timestamp, 3 years ago. Location unknown. She hit play. It opened on a concrete room. No windows. Harsh lighting. A man sat cuffed to a chair. Blood at his temple. Dressed in tactical gear. Camera zoomed. It was Monroe. He looked younger. Angry. Scared. A voice off-screen asked, "Did you transmit the drop?" "No." Another voice, "We know it was you." I said no. Then static. Then another clip. Same room. Later. This time, someone else in the chair. A woman. Her face bruised. Crying. Caldwell gasped. It was her. Only she had no memory of it. Monroe stood frozen. The voices on the video were familiar. He couldn't place them, but they were familiar. Then it hit him. One of them was Fallon. The other was Red. His mouth went dry. Why would Red be in that room? Caldwell's face had gone pale. She replayed the video. Watched herself beg. Deny. Break. None of it made sense. "I don't remember any of this," she whispered. Monroe turned to the laptop. Pulled up metadata. The footage had been altered. Timestamps forged. Voices spliced. But the faces, those were real. Suddenly, the laptop screen glitched. Then shut off. Dead. Smoke curled from the USB port. The flash drive burned from the inside. Melted into plastic and copper. "Backups?" Monroe asked. Caldwell shook her head. It was one use only. Red had made sure of it. "Why would he show us this?" she said. Monroe stared into the fire. "Because he wanted us to question everything." They didn't sleep. They left the bunker before dawn. Burned the files. Ditched the car. Changed appearance. If the footage was real, they'd both been captured before and made to forget. Drugs. Hypnosis. Some kind of conditioning. And if it happened once, it could happen again. They needed answers. They drove to a remote research facility outside Georgia. Monroe's old contact worked there, Dr. Sloan Halberd, a memory reconstruction specialist with deep ties to federal intelligence. He owed Monroe a favor. Caldwell underwent a scan. Monroe watched the monitor as spikes appeared in her neural patterns. "See that?" Sloan pointed. "Implants. Memory inhibitors. Deep layer." She flinched. "How long have they been there?" "Years," Sloan said. Same with Monroe. They weren't just victims. They'd been assets. Then discarded. Sloan triggered a recall protocol. The memory came slow. Blurred. Chaotic. A dark facility. Metal doors. Screaming behind glass. A table. Restraints. A man in a surgical mask whispering. She doesn't remember yet, but she will. Caldwell jolted awake. Sweat on her neck. Monroe caught her. "You saw it too?" She nodded. They were inside the same room. At different times. Same table. Same voices. Whatever had been done to them, it was part of something bigger. Something systematic. Sloan gave them names. Coordinates. Places where other erased agents had resurfaced. Most were dead. One was alive. Outside a clinic in New Mexico. Monroe and Caldwell went alone. The patient's name, Elijah Cairn. Another former agent. Same division. Same protocol. But what they found wasn't a man. It was a shell. Cairn sat in a wheelchair. Eyes blank. Mouth open. He didn't speak. Didn't blink. But on his forearm, tattooed into the skin, were coordinates. Caldwell snapped a photo. Monroe leaned in. Cairn whispered one word. Fortress. The coordinates led to an abandoned base near the Texas border. Caldwell ran satellite recon. It didn't exist. No heat signatures. No traffic. Just desert. But Monroe recognized the shape. "That's it," he said. "The facility. Where they took us." They approached at night. No lights. No guards. Just a long black gate and a silence that felt artificial. The gate opened by itself. Inside, empty corridors. Cold lights. Stainless steel walls. Caldwell found medical trays. Scrub masks. Restraint chairs. But no people. No files. Just whispers behind walls. Recordings? Echoes? Monroe found a panel. A code was scratched into it. 12 wake. 1 stays. He flipped the panel open. Behind it, a sealed compartment. Inside, another flash drive. They stared at the screen. The words didn't change. "You are not patients. You are prototypes. No menu. No exit." Just that phrase, repeating in silence. Monroe felt his stomach knot. Caldwell backed away from the laptop like it might explode. "We were part of a test," she whispered. "A government test." Monroe didn't blink. "Not just a test," he said. An operation. The screen flickered. A new window opened by itself. Folders. Dozens of them. Each marked with a number. A date. And one word. Active. Caldwell clicked on one. Surveillance footage filled the screen. A woman shopping. A man jogging. A child in school. Each followed. Monitored. Tracked. In the top corner of each video, a green icon. Spinning slowly. Monroe tapped it. Data filled the screen. Heartbeat. Voice print. Neural frequency. These aren't just targets, Caldwell said. They're subjects. In the deepest part of the facility, they found the control room. Half the monitors were smashed. The other half still played live feeds. Cities. Roads. Homes. People being watched without knowing. Each monitor had a tag. Speaker. Guardian. Witness. Gota. What are these? Caldwell asked. Monroe shook his head. Roles. He pointed at one screen, labeled Witness number 006. It was her. Live. Present day. Sitting in a hotel lobby. Drinking tea. But she was here, beside him. She turned slowly toward the camera. What the hell? The screen blinked. Another file opened. Witness number 006. Duplicate confirmed. She was real. Hair identical. Eyes identical. Even the birthmark near her jaw. But her posture was stiff. Her eyes empty. Caldwell gripped the console. That's not a camera feed. That's a test run. Monroe stared. They made a second version of you. Behind the control room was a locked vault. Fingerprint and retinal scan required. Caldwell placed her hand on the pad. It blinked green. Door hissed open. Inside, rows of sealed pods. Each with a person inside. Still. Suspended. Wired to machines. One of them looked exactly like Monroe. Another, exactly like Red. A tablet sat on a metal desk. Monroe picked it up. Swiped through names. Caldwell. Monroe. Red. Grieve. Fallon. Even Banner. All marked as either retired, active, or terminated. Monroe found his own entry. Status phased. Notes, cognitive instability observed. Begin containment. He dropped the tablet. None of this was supposed to get out. A speaker crackled to life. A voice filled the room. Cold. Controlled. Female. Agents Monroe and Caldwell. You've gone too far. Monroe scanned the ceiling. The voice continued. You were designed for containment, not exposure. Who are you? Caldwell shouted. I am Overseer Kestrel. Your breach variables. Return to pod status or face deactivation. Caldwell grabbed the tablet. No. The lights went red. Locks disengaged on the far wall. Security drones unfolded from hidden panels. Guns extended. Monroe yanked Caldwell down just as a drone fired. Sparks exploded from the floor. He shot too. Ran. Pulled her with him. The facility roared awake. They found it deep in the foundation. A room pulsing with light. The core ran hot. Streams of data flooding through transparent cables. Caldwell pulled open a mainframe panel. If we bring this down, we kill the program. Monroe hesitated. And everyone like us? She stopped. Looked up. We have no idea how many were made. A timer started on the wall. 10 minutes. Kestrel's voice returned. Security override in motion. Collapse protocol initiated. Monroe stared at the cables. Pulled one. Sparks flew. A siren screamed. Screens above began erasing files. One by one. Name after name. Caldwell hesitated. If we destroy it, we go dark. Off the grid. Monroe didn't care. Better than being someone's lab rat. She nodded. Together, they pulled the core. The room went black. They escaped through a rear tunnel. The entire facility shook behind them. Dust fell. Alarms screamed. Power flickered. By the time they reached the surface, the horizon was glowing. The base self-destructed. Wiped clean. No trace. No witnesses. Except them. 3 days later, a sealed envelope arrived at a federal office in D.C. No return address. Inside, a copy of the facility logs, names redacted. A note attached. Your prototypes are loose. Clean up fast. Monroe sat on the motel bed, staring at his reflection in the mirror. The scar on his arm, one he thought was from an old mission, was glowing faintly. Under the skin, a line of code shimmered. Caldwell stood behind him. She raised her shirt sleeve. Same mark. Same code. She met his eyes. If we were prototypes. Monroe finished the thought. Who made the originals? Silence. Then the room phone rang. They froze. It rang again. Caldwell answered. The voice was faint, but unmistakable. It was her, the second Caldwell. She whispered, "They're still running tests, and one of us isn't real." The voice on the line was calm. Too calm. "One of us isn't real." Caldwell stared at the receiver. Frozen, breathing shallow. Monroe stood slowly. Every hair on his neck stood on end. She whispered, "Where are you?" The line clicked. Then silence. But not just on the phone. Every sound outside, traffic, wind, distant sirens, cut off like a switch had been flipped. Monroe pulled the blinds open. Nothing. Not a soul. Not a car. Not even a breeze. The world outside their motel window had gone still. Too still. Caldwell stepped into the parking lot. Lights flickered. Signs blinked out. A bird frozen midair, wings outstretched, unmoving. Monroe reached for her. "Don't." She didn't listen. She touched the bird. It shattered. Glass. Not flesh. Not feathers. An illusion. They turned. The motel behind them vanished. Just a blank wall of fog where the building had been. It rose out of the mist like it had never been destroyed. The same shape. Same walls. But different now. Newer. Sharper edges. Gleaming panels. No scorch marks. No signs of collapse. Caldwell took a step back. They reset the program. Monroe clenched his fists. "Or we never left it." The door opened on its own. A voice echoed from within. "Welcome back, witness number 006, guardian number 014. Inside, the halls weren't just corridors, they were mirrors. Reflections of themselves at different points. Monroe in uniform. Caldwell in chains. One version dead. One smiling. Each wrong in some way. Twisted. Off. At the end of the hallway, 2 chairs sat under a spotlight. Occupied. By them. Perfect copies. Alive. Awake. Smiling. The real Caldwell stepped forward. Her double tilted her head. "You're not supposed to be here," it said. The lights snapped off. They woke in chairs. Strapped down. Wires on their temples. Screens in front of them. Questions. Rapid fire. Automated. "Do you recall your origin? Have you interacted with external variables? Do you believe you are human?" Caldwell screamed. The wires burned. Monroe bit down. Refused to answer. The screen changed. "One of you is an echo. One of you is real." A gun descended between them. The system voice spoke again. Cold. Robotic. "You must identify the echo, or both will be deleted." The restraints loosened. Monroe grabbed the gun. Looked at Caldwell. She didn't flinch. "I know what you're thinking," she said softly. "That I might be her." Monroe didn't speak. "She said one of us isn't real," Caldwell continued. "But maybe it's not about me." She looked at him. "Maybe you're the echo." He raised the gun. Hand shaking. Images flashed around them. Memories. Shared. Twisted. Rewritten. In one, Caldwell shot him. In another, he never met her. In another, he never existed. He dropped the gun. "No. I'm done choosing for them." The lights surged. Sirens wailed. A final message appeared above them. Test failed. Program terminating. The walls cracked. The ground split. The facility peeled open like a folding box. Inside, nothing. Just endless dark. Wires. Steel. Caldwell ran. Monroe followed. Everything they touched crumbled behind them. The core they destroyed had been rebuilt. But it was unstable. Their defiance had infected it. They reached a door marked Origin. Monroe kicked it open. Behind it, a white room. Empty. Featureless. One table. One file. Caldwell opened it. Inside, a list of every subject. Thousands of names. Each stamped. Expired. Failed. Purged. Except 2. Theirs. Monroe. Caldwell. Status escaped. They stepped through the final threshold. Blinding light. Then trees. Wind. People. Normal. Noise returned. Life returned. Caldwell dropped to her knees. Cried. Monroe sat beside her. "I don't know what we are," he said. "But we're not theirs." Weeks later, a package arrived at an unmarked P.O. box in Oregon. Inside, a single flash drive. Caldwell plugged it in. One file. Video. A lab. Dozens of bodies. All Caldwell. All Monroe. Lined in rows. Behind them, someone watching. A man in a coat. The camera zoomed. His ID tag read, Kestrel. Caldwell stared. Her voice was hollow. Kestrel isn't the system. Monroe looked up. He's the one who started it. They watched as Kestrel leaned into the camera and smiled. Not cruelly, knowingly. He said one word. Next. The video ended.